It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10. Our top story. The hitman, the showman. Boxing remembers former champion Ricky Hatton after his death at 46. Applause from fans and players for Hatton, the Man City fan, during today's game at the Etihad. Also tonight, a minister says Lord Mandelson's ambassadorial appointment was worth the risk after his sacking over Jeffrey Epstein links. Sky News understands that the UK's one-in, one-out policy will see illegal immigrants deported back to France as early as this coming week. We report from inside the secretive state of Belarus, whose military is on manoeuvres with Russia. Plus, Trump and ceremony. What's in store to make the president's second state visit to the UK bigger and more spectacular than the first? And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30. Good evening. Ricky Hatton, who fought his way to the top, is tonight being remembered by fans and stars from across the sporting world. The former boxing world champion, who'd been in training to return to the ring, was found dead this morning in his home in Greater Manchester. He was 46. The highs of his career contrasted with the lows he endured after retirement, mental health issues that Hatton was open about to help others. Our sports correspondent, Rob Harris, looks back at Hatton's life and career.
Just seeing and listening to the fans who followed Ricky Hatton told you everything about his appeal.
Listen to the chants of there's only one Ricky Hatton.
As the people's champion, losing charisma, charming and connecting beyond boxing. Why tens of thousands of Brits descended on Las Vegas for blockbuster bouts. But never forgetting his working class roots in Manchester, never losing the common touch in the rise to the top.
I always said I'd be number one. And you know what? You, me loyal fans, deserve it as much as me. We did it together tonight.
The home of his beloved Manchester City, devastation on Derby Day. Tributes hours after the 46-year-old was found dead at his home. Fighting Juan Lascano here in 2008 brought the showman out in the hitman, producing one of 45 career wins, one that meant more than most. The biggest undoubtedly came against Costa Zoo in 2005.
Ricky Hatton rocks the world with a truly stunning win over a modern legend.
Providing the platform for the Vegas mega fights against Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao.
Big whipping left hand, vicious punches, and Hatton's having to ship them all.
Both ended in defeats that Hatton struggled to cope with, spending 3 years out of the ring from 2009. The adulation and fame could seem overwhelming. To deal with the darkness, help was sought through therapy.
It snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. Then I think the best thing I did after retiring and I got in such a bad way was go and speak to a stranger. He doesn't know me, I don't know him, and nobody knows I'm speaking to him.
He'd been retired 13 years since only a third career defeat. But in July, comeback plans were suddenly announced. And this was just 3 days ago, training to fight in December. He hoped getting back in shape would inspire those who have also dealt with depression and addiction.
He was an amazing fighter, such a lovely guy, had an amazing personality, drew in thousands and thousands of people who travelled thousands and thousands of miles to watch him, 40,000 people going out to Vegas to watch him box. He was a phenomenal attraction, both inside and outside the ring.
Police did not provide a cause of death, but said it's not being treated as suspicious, leaving boxing mourning.
How would you like to be remembered?
The world champion, that was one of us.
Ricky Hatton was the two-weight world champion who became a champion for mental health by being so open about his vulnerabilities while reaching the pinnacle of his sport. Rob Harris, Sky News.
And if you've been affected by the issues reported in that story, help is available from the Samaritans. You can contact them at any time by calling 116 123 or email joe@samaritans.org. A minister told Sky News today that Peter Mandelson's singular talents meant he was deemed worth the risk for what ultimately became a doomed post as Britain's US ambassador. He was sacked on Thursday after emails were published revealing more about Lord Mandelson's friendship with the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, an association that he's admitted lasted too long. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is facing questions about his judgment and accusations from Conservatives of lying. Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, reports.
The Prime Minister was delighted, obviously, to take that call.
Gone, but certainly not forgotten. As the crisis over Sir Keir Starmer's dealings with Peter Mandelson worsened, a Cabinet Minister's attempt to defend his appointment as Washington ambassador angered Labour MPs.
When you are dealing with the matters between two governments and you are trying to get a talent which is singular to put to the bear on behalf of our country, which has been proven to be delivering for our country, these are decisions that the Prime Minister made. We knew that there were risks involved, but also his talent led us to believe at the time that the risk was worth it.
Labour MPs have reacted with fury to Peter Kyle's claim that Lord Mandelson was a risk worth taking. One MP told Sky News it was stupid and disgusting and like turning a blind eye to Epstein's horrendous behaviour. The Conservatives and other opposition parties, meanwhile, in the 2 days left before the Commons breaks for party conferences, plan to use every parliamentary device possible: questions to ministers, procedural motions, an emergency debate, to try to force the government to reveal what Sir Keir Starmer knew and when.
Mr. Speaker, I think it is embarrassing that
the Tories have accused the PM of lying to MPs.
We've had 2 senior resignations in the space of the number of weeks. We had the outrageous situation this week where the Prime Minister and the Labour Party have defended appointing the best pal of a known convicted paedophile as US ambassador. The Prime Minister's authority is completely shot, and there are questions that he now has to answer.
All this as the bunting goes up ahead of President Trump's arrival this week for his second state visit, when the recriminations over Lord Mandelson's sacking look likely to continue. John Craig, Sky News.
Sky News understands that the first flights returning illegal migrants to France could take off this coming week. The one-in, one-out scheme was set up as part of a deal announced in July between Sir Keir Starmer and the French President Emmanuel Macron. Ministers hope the returns will help to deter people from crossing the Channel in small boats, after more than 30,000 arrivals so far this year. Ashna Harnag reports.
As quickly as they arrived on the 7th of August, they were told they'd soon be returned, back to France from the shores they'd just left. These people were told by British border officials of a possible imminent departure hours after arriving in the UK. And now Sky News understands that could happen as soon as this week.
The lesson is that by cooperating with our partners, France, rather than rowing with them, we are able to deliver. So I hope the flights will start as quickly as possible. I don't know the exact date they will, but people need to look at this and see that we are straining at the bit. We are also angry about what we have inherited, and we are doing everything possible to get a grip on it.
A grip that some people believe hasn't been tight enough, with asylum hotels becoming a beacon for unrest in recent weeks. All the while, the numbers keep climbing. Just over 31,000 people have crossed the Channel in small boats so far this year, 40% higher than at the same point last year. But under the government's one-in, one-out deal, France has agreed to take back people who've crossed the Channel and had their asylum claim dismissed or withdrawn. In return, the UK accepts an equal number of asylum seekers, but only those who have not tried to cross illegally and pass security checks. For every person sent out, another person is approved to come in.
Those being deported are going out from Heathrow in the coming days, but we now understand that those replacing them will be flying in from France on Saturday.
But those working with the people who will be on those flights are adamant it won't work.
This is a disgusting and dehumanising policy, and people crossing the Channel are not numbers to be exchanged under this deal. They're individuals with lives, with hopes and families. The evidence shows that securitizing the border and other attempted deterrents, they've not been effective. All they do is push people into more dangerous routes.
It's hoped this exchange deal will limit the amount of people being housed in hotels, but Sky News understands fewer than a dozen people are so far scheduled to leave. It may take a while to scale up, but it would make a statement. Ashna Haranag, Sky News.
Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, joins me now live from Downing Street. And John, some are saying that the last couple of weeks for the Prime Minister have been the worst of his premiership. But if he's able to get these deportations underway, he could be back on the right foot.
That's what he'll hope, certainly. Yes, the Prime Minister is hoping for some success on one of the most contentious policies and most controversial issues facing the government. Now, it's thought that there could be perhaps 3 or 4 flights this week. The first could come as early as Monday. Looks like they're going to fly Air France, 100 or so. These are people who arrived in the first couple of weeks in August, particularly, I mean, for example, on the 7th of August, there were 155 arrived. Some of those are going back. But of course, the problem is that during that period, the first couple of weeks, there were 800 came over in small boats. So critics will say, well, look, it's not really one in, one out. A lot more coming in than going out. But the legal paperwork apparently has been done. They're ready to go. And, of course, that would be a much needed boost for the Prime Minister and the government at a time of absolute turmoil. Talk of Andy Burnham plotting to unseat Mr Sir Keir Starmer if he can find a by-election to fight before the next general election, a febrile atmosphere amongst Labour MPs. Whilst the Tories criticise the migration policy, Labour MPs, as well as furious over the fiasco of as they see it, of the handling of the Lord Mandelson appointment and then sacking, Labour MPs want the whole deportation speeded up, and they want this to speed up the closing of those migrant hotels. Now, of course, the Mandelson affair continues to cause problems because of the atmosphere amongst Labour backbenchers, anger at Peter Kyle's remarks. Tories are turning up the heat. They've now written to the Prime Minister, posing a number of questions following the developments of the last few days, and they're saying they want the immediate release of the Mandelson Epstein files. And they want the Prime Minister, his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, the pantomime villain of all this, you might say, and senior officials to give evidence in Parliament. So, only 2 days left before a break for conferences, but the Prime Minister will be hoping to get through those with some good news to announce, but all the signs are that the bad news is just going to keep on coming.
John, we shall see. Thank you very much. More details are emerging about the possible motives of the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was arrested on Friday. Prosecutors are drawing up formal charges that could be filed early next week when he's due to make his first court appearance. Charlie Kirk, a conservative anti-trans activist, was shot dead during a university event in the US state of Utah on Wednesday. Utah's Governor, Spencer Cox, has told our colleagues at NBC News how investigators interviewed the suspect's roommate.
According to family and people that we're interviewing, he does come from a conservative family, but his ideology was very different than his family, and so that's part of it. We do know that the roommate that we had originally talked about, we can confirm that roommate is a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female.
Romania has become the second NATO member in days to accuse Russia of breaching its airspace with drones during attacks on neighbouring Ukraine. Poland said it shot down several Russian drones earlier in the week and described being the closest to open conflict since World War II. Meanwhile, Russia and Belarus are holding joint military exercises for the first time since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Sky's Ivor Bennett reports from the Belarusian capital, Minsk.
On NATO's doorstep, Russia is rehearsing for war. On land, at sea, and in the air. The joint military drills with Belarus are the first since Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Nervous times for those next door. In Poland, they see big red warning lights and have closed their border with Belarus in response.
We are doing this for the safety of our citizens. Russia has been behaving aggressively towards Poland in recent days, and for many years has been behaving aggressively towards the entire civilized world. To ensure the safety of our citizens, we are forced to make these decisions.
Adding to concerns are the recent Russian drone incursions. First in Poland, which shot down some of the drones. Then in Romania this weekend, where fighter jets were scrambled as a precaution. And now there are more in the skies above Eastern Europe, after NATO bolstered its defences. Here in Minsk and in Moscow, the authorities insist the drills are defensive, that they're not aimed at anybody and that concerns over them are misplaced. But the last time they were held 4 years ago, it led to a massive build-up of Russian troops in Belarus that was then used a few months later for Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. And so this time, Belarus's neighbours aren't taking any chances. There's a feeling in the West that it's a test of NATO's defences.
There are several strategic goals here that both countries, the Union State, Belarus and Russia, are trying to achieve. Scare, show that they are capable, show that they can threaten, and of course also checking what reactions and response could be.
For NATO, it's a fresh chance to scrutinise Russia's military. After 3.5 years of combat in Ukraine. But it would feel a lot more comfortable if this wasn't so close to home. Ivor Bennett, Sky News, Minsk.
The Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, has vowed to unite the Labour Party to take on Reform UK if she's elected Deputy Labour leader. Launching her campaign in Sunderland, she pledged to continue Angela Rayner's work and ensure a second term for Labour in the next election. Ms Rayner resigned over her housing and tax affairs. The US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is in Israel seeking answers from Benjamin Netanyahu after the Prime Minister ordered a strike on Hamas in the Gulf state of Qatar. The Doha attack killed at least 6 people and has upended ceasefire efforts. Israel is also intensifying attacks in northern Gaza, flattening more high-rise buildings. There's been a march and vigil in support of a Sikh woman who reported being racially abused whilst being raped in the Oldbury in the West Midlands. The victim has thanked the strength and kindness shown towards her. Police are looking for 2 white men in connection with the attack on Tuesday morning. He had a resume most only dream of. Renowned pharmacologist, NASA scientist and advisor to the World Health Organization. Crucially, Professor Michael Briggs was also an expert witness in the Primidos drug scandal, challenging mothers who claimed their babies were damaged in the womb. But it was a career built on lies, and now his daughter, Joanne Briggs, is exposing the fraud. She spoke to our home editor, Jason Farrell.
Boxed up memories of a mysterious man. Joanne's father was a NASA scientist, a renowned pharmacologist and advisor to the World Health Organization. But Michael Briggs's career was a sham, and it's taken his daughter to expose it.
It says PhD thesis 1959, M.H. Briggs is my father.
It's not a PhD.
It's not a PhD.
So he's bound this
so
himself.
It's been rebound.
Recently, Joanne ran checks on his qualifications, discovering both his PhD and science doctorate were faked.
To make it so you could put it on a shelf, I just find fascinating evidence potentially of his personality.
Joanne always admired her father's astonishing career, even after he left the family when she was 7. But only recently did she realise he was a fraud and decided to write a book she called The Scientist Who Wasn't There.
He was involved in a series of fraudulent acts in order to pursue a career in science that he wanted for some reason.
Joanne's revelations matter because in the early 1980s, Professor Briggs was a key expert witness against families who claimed that their children had been damaged in the womb by the hormone pregnancy test Primidos.
The collapse of the trial has been attributed to him by many people on the campaign side. He appeared to be an expert on a world stage, and an incomparable expert, really. So you couldn't ask for a better CV. But unfortunately, what was in his CV was largely of his own making.
In the late 1960s, Briggs was UK research director for Shearing Pharmaceuticals, who made Primidos during that time. His name is in correspondence with experts such as Dennis Cook, whose research showed a correlation between sales of Primidos and malformations in newborns in the population. Briggs didn't act on this. In the late 1980s, Sunday Times journalist Brian Deere accused Briggs of fabricating research for Shearing and another company relating to the safety of the contraceptive pill.
He was essentially, in those days of typewriters, essentially sitting there and thinking of what the data ought to be and typing it into tables and sending it off to medical journals to publish.
Professor Briggs died shortly after the article was published. But what of his work? In 2017, a government-ordered review into Primidos was published. 28 animal studies from the 1960s and 70s were provided by manufacturer Shearing. Some of them prepared when Briggs was the company's UK research director, and some done in preparation for litigation when he was a key witness.
They, to me, have hallmark characteristics of his turn of phrase, actually, if you read them. So there are research papers there that were actually produced by my dad, and they were relied on by the expert working group as part and parcel of their conclusion.
Campaigners say the expert working group's report has been crucial in blocking further legal action against the manufacturer and the government. Joanne hopes her revelations could lead to a rethink about the evidence.
I think this story about a man in the centre of this who happens to be a fabricated person, a hollow man, who has been relied on to such an extent for his expertise, that doesn't strike me as irrelevant.
Primidos has long been off the market. Manufacturer Bayer now owns Shearing and says considerable scientific research shows there is no causal relationship between the use of Primidos and an increased incidence of congenital anomalies. While the UK regulator, the MHRA, told us it would review any new scientific data. But the manufacturer hasn't told us whether any studies by this serial faker were used to argue that the drug was safe. Jason Farrell, Sky News.
Pro-Palestinian demonstrators have interrupted the final stage of the Spanish Welter cycling race. They blocked the road, forcing the cyclists to stop. The protesters also clashed with police and threw barriers along the route in Madrid. Organisers were forced to cut the race short and cancel the podium ceremony. The red carpet is being readied, the King and Queen's carriage is being prepared, and the military is on orders for full pageantry. That's right. Donald Trump and First Lady Melania are heading back to the UK this week for what will be the US President's second state visit. This time, everything has been organised to be bigger and more spectacular from the moment the Trumps land on Tuesday. Our royal correspondent Randall Mills looks at what we can expect.
The build-up is over and Trump is on his way.
They're going to do a second, as you know, a second fest, and that's what it is. It's a fest, and it's beautiful.
And he is not wrong. They are literally rolling out every bit of red carpet they can possibly find. With the President and First Lady staying here at Windsor Castle, he is going to get a carriage ride with the King, and we're going to see more military pageantry than we've seen for any other world leader on a recent state visit. We have been here before. In 2019, it was a different monarch and a different location. But just as big a display of how hard we were working to keep the US president on side. Lord Kim Darroch was the UK's ambassador to the US at the time.
Our relationship with Europe, with the European Union, is very important, but in terms of bilateral relationships, this is the biggest. If we had bad relations with the US, which translated into high tariffs, people would be losing their jobs in this country and industries would be going bankrupt. So this is pure British interests at base. We've made a good start for Donald Trump's second term, but he's a man who changes his mind easily.
And that is why we're doing it all over again.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit.
And that says at Windsor. That's
Yes.
really something.
The reason that would make some cringe is because state visits are seen as the ultimate diplomatic gift. Cue the questions about whether or not Donald Trump really deserves it. But it is a powerful card that only the UK can play. Lord Simon MacDonald was head of the Foreign Office during Trump's first presidency.
It's not just about carriages and tiaras, it's about the world agenda.
It's really an honor to see you. And
India right now is suffering as a country because of a spat between Donald Trump and the Prime Minister of India. So having Donald Trump in a positive frame of mind, I think means that the UK has a better chance, probably a better bilateral relationship with the United States than any other country in the world.
There is no getting away from it. It is still controversial, and the glamour of the castle cannot erase everything that's been going on recently around Jeffrey Epstein, the geopolitical turmoil, and everything that Trump has said in the past. More of that could well play out when he meets the Prime Minister at Chequers on Thursday. But author Michael Wolff says it comes at a good time for Trump. It will be a distraction, and he won't really care about the high-level political matters.
It is all about Trump and Trump's image. So what he's looking for are some photo ops which are not just even helpful to him, but ones that can make him feel good.
great woman, great woman.
I can't see anything meaningful coming out of this on a policy basis or on a political basis. I mean, this is a vanity trip.
There is no doubt the visit will give Donald Trump the memories and the pictures that he wants, and this time everybody knows what to expect. The cost of it all already declared worth it in diplomatic circles, and that's even before the president has stepped off the plane. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News at Windsor Castle.
Just want to bring you a bit of breaking news now, an update just through on what police say was a racially motivated rape in Aldbury, where a Sikh woman reported being attacked and sexually assaulted by two white men on Tuesday. West Midlands Police say a man in his 30s has tonight been detained and remains in custody on suspicion of rape. Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. When we come back, I'll be joined by political journalist and broadcaster Theo Usherwood and journalist and author Christina Patterson. Amongst the stories we'll be discussing, this on the front of the Mail, their headline, "Scramble inside number 10 to save Starmer." We'll be right back. Do stay with us.